Okay, so I've got here the next level floor plan inserted as well, and so you can see there it lines up in the same way, and I'll set this to fine as well so that we can see, and also in wireframe, that the walls need to be moved over in exactly the same way as in the ground floor plan. So I thought I'd just show you a couple of little tricks just to maybe reinforce what you've been doing with Revit. So here I want to move all of this over to the left and keep it straight. So if I go with a window from below the floor plan, below the image there, if I click on the image it's not going to work, but clicking below it'll let me make a window going left to right, and that will select only the things inside the window. So if you had a look at this in AutoCAD, windows versus crossings, left to right versus right to left. If I go right to left, it will select everything inside the window and everything that window's touching, which will be too much. So I just want to go left to right and just get the things inside my window. So it's really important you just have those fundamental selection tools down when you're doing things like this. And now I can either use the arrows and just nudge it to the left, or let's go back a bit. Oops. Or use the move tool. So again, selecting it left to right. And if I use the move tool, I can give a measurement. So the arrows are good to do, fairly arbitrary small adjustments. But if you want to move using an accurate measurement, make sure you know about the move tool in the modify panel and not just dragging things. So clicking on the move button, then I can click a base point, take it over to the left, see roughly what my distance should be. So I can see there to the centre line, pretty close to 620 I'd say, looking at the numbers I'm getting there. 625 maybe, but let's say 620 seems pretty good. So then I can just follow that process all the way around, so the wall at the top here, and by making a window left to right I'm going to get the reference plane as well. And then again using the move tool, starting at the top there and coming down to look at the dimension. Looks like about 60 mil this time. So the numbers are up to you, you just need to make them workable numbers. And then over here we've got a real problem because this angle is different to the boundary. And we need to rotate both the wall and the reference plane there. So again, it's a good chance just to practice using the this time the rotate tool. So I'm going to select my reference plane and the wall just using control. Click on rotate, and then you can see we've got this gizmo that comes up. You've got the little base point there and then that angle coming out from it. Before I give the angle, or the base angle, I'm going to drag that base point onto the corner so that I'm rotating from there. So make sure you know about that. When you rotate, you want to think about the base point you're rotating around. And now I'm going to start with the angle on that reference plane and then bring the angle around to snap to the drawing we've imported. Now Revit's pretty good in this way because it will join things together automatically. Here you can see it's slightly off at the corner there, so you can either live with that, which I think I will, or go back and fine tune the wall, but I think I'll live with that. As long as the angle's the same, that's good enough for me. And so I'm looking at my next level. Well, you can see, so we didn't do the angled wall there. So just by selecting that and then with control, so selecting the reference plane and then using control the wall, I can do a two-stage move, so starting with the corner point there, coming across to the left, and let's say 250, and then, well actually that's taken it in the other direction as well. But now I need to select this reference plane, and, well, I can always just change that dimension there to 0 to bring it up as well. So what you really want to be checking for here is that both of these line up, and that'll tell you that the plan on the next level is the right size and in the right position. If they don't line up, you've got a problem. So here, it's out on level 1, but it's out by the same amount on the ground floor. So that means everything's lining up. So you can see there we've got these walls that are different thicknesses, and that's really the first thing you'll need to think about when you start drawing the walls with a bit more detail. And so starting with maybe the wall at the top, which is the easiest one to begin with, you can see then that the wall should have been drawn with finished face exterior. So that means the outside face of the wall is the defining edge. And if I change the thickness of that wall, it's going to work inwards. Because when I drew the wall, remember we drew it on the outside edge using finished face exterior, and I can see the grip there, which tells me where that location line is along that top edge there. Right, so looking at these alcoves here, what I'm looking for is the narrowest one. So it's this one, I'd be pretty sure. So again, you've got to make a decision here whether it's worth trying to put those alcoves in as with the wall tool, or come back and chop them away afterwards. And I think that one is an alcove that is not the full height, so it's a recessed part of the wall. But we'll just ignore that and bring the wall out to here for that section. Over here, it's a bit of a tricky old wall actually. But that way, you can definitely do all of that. And well, actually, have you been given any guides on how accurately you need to draw that wall, or what you need to do there?
We can do whatever we like.
Right, because I mean, structurally, in real life, you wouldn't be able to, because you'd need to retain that wall as it is.
Yeah, so the structure, I mean, we have to have the right thickness, and we have to see where and it's like there's any vertical structure at all.
Yeah.
But ultimately we can move interior walls.
Yeah, interior walls, sure. Yeah.
Not to perforate that wall is solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And it's a nice thing to have that, pick up that detail that is there, the existing detail, especially for interior fit outs these days. It's a really important thing to be able to.
So what would that be then?
Well, they'd be piers that would be, in most cases, supporting some of the upper level structure.
Yeah.
Or, well, in this case, there's some sort of, I'd say that's an alcove, so I'm going to ignore that one because it's got a dashed line there.
Yeah.
So they've recessed there for some reason. And the rest of it, though, would be piers. You can see they mostly come out where there are other walls. And then they'd have, because they've added in some structural elements as well, they've got some extra piers for the beams that are in that garage and the other areas there. So what I'm going to do is just assume that this here is the main line of the structure. Actually, so maybe this one. It's a bit of a tricky one because I think those should be. Yeah, I think we'll ignore that bit and just say this should be the main line and bring this part out. It's only for that part that it's gone back a bit. So that'll simplify it a little bit. So that's what I'm going to measure. So I'm going to measure from here back to there, and you can see close enough to 540. So I'm going to select that wall there. Oh yeah, if you want to, yeah. We're going to be rounding it off anyway, so it doesn't matter for this too much. So again, edit type here, duplicate, I'm making a new wall size. So really what I'm trying to do is get you used to making your own wall types. So existing 540 mil wall. Okay, if we need to put extra layers into that, if you want to have a render layer or plastering on the inside and paint that a different colour, you can easily come back and add that to this wall. So the main thing is that you give it a new name, and then also I'm going to go to the structure here, edit, and type in my new thickness, 540. And then when I click OK, you can see it's going from the outside in. So notice again, it's gone over this section, but I think we can just ignore that. And then for the rest, it's following the main line of the wall there pretty well. Now, with any luck, this one will be similar, but we've got the piers on the outside there, so we might need to do something different. I'd say that's a blocked-in window here. That's what it looks like to me. So that's not actually a pier there. That's a window, and I said it. Well, let's look at it in Street View. So Yeah. So it's a blocked-in window, I'd say, and so that's the way to draw it. Draw it as an opening, and it's gone. Have I gone too far down? This way? Where are we? Yeah. Oh, yeah, right, so it's down here, yeah. Is it that corner? Or this one? Oh, that's right, yeah. There we are. That's it. So yeah, so it is a, well actually no, it's been bricked up. Yeah, but there was a window opening there originally, but it's been bricked up. So yeah, so you do have a pier there. Right, so I really wanted to show you how to make piers. And there, we've got to bring the wall back. So, okay, so we've got a pier here that I'm going to measure. So say that's, well, that's easy, 150. So I'm going to select that wall, and then we'll need to move it back. And this wall here is going to go and create a new corner if I do that without changing something first. Okay, so what I need to do is right-click on the end of this wall and disallow drawing. It's one of these tricky little things you'll have in Revit when you've got complicated wall joins. Often it's a lot easier to do them yourself. So if you don't know this option, it's a really useful one you'll find when walls are joining in ways that you don't want them to. So go right-click on any grip at the end of a wall, then disallow join. And I'll do the same with this one. So I'm going to right click on that grip there and then again disallow join. So I can now drag that corner to where my reference plane is. You can see how useful it is having the reference planes there. And then this wall, if I move it to the left now, just go select it and click on the move button and go to the left 150, enter. Notice that it's not trying to join itself to this other wall. And can you see why that would be a problem? It would join down to here, which would be a huge issue. So, okay, so that's an important thing. And so now, this is the trick I was going to show you. Like I said, a lot of people try and do this with columns because technically this is almost like a column. But I've just found it's easier to do it with the wall tool. And I think that's what the people who designed the program always meant for you to do. So again, just with the wall tool now, I've got the wall type there on the existing wall 290. It's going to go edit type, duplicate, just like before, and make it existing 150. Change that wall thickness to 150. And then, because I know this reference plane is exactly 150 from my wall, because I've moved the wall 150 to the left, I can draw, still with finish face exterior, right over that reference plane. Just come down. And I've got a very simple pier. Let's have a look at it in the plan without the drawing. So it's a simple thing, but it's really easy to control that now, because you find that the common issue people have with these things like piers is that they try to join with other walls, and you've just got to think about how that's going to work. So I'll do another one here just to make that a bit clearer. Okay, so here we've got another pier. Let's just have a look at the photo to make it a bit clearer. Yeah, there is a pier there on the corner. So you can see here it's got this line coming up. Let's see if we can get a better angle on it. Yeah, so there. So it's a really important detail that you want going up to the parapet there. Okay, so again, same thing, just with the wall tool. And then, again, tracing that reference plane down to the corner. Now, I don't really mind if it joins to this one, but you can leave it like this. See how, let's go to the ground floor without the image. It's all black anyway, so they're going to read as one. But even if you go to a fine detail, I think I'll show you these, you can use the join tool. So people get worried when they turn off that automatic joining. So just to remind you, right clicking on any grip, you can go disallow join. You can easily turn it back on. With this wall, if I right click on the grip there, I can go allow join, and then it will automatically join itself. You can see there now it's joining to this new wall. So you can easily turn it back on, don't be afraid to turn it off. But often when you've done that disallow join, you'll still want the walls to be cleaned up, and you can use the join tool for that. So I can go join and then choose these walls and join them all together. Oops. And they'll all read as one. So it's called manual joining, really, and so you're essentially deciding how things are going to be connected and cleaned up rather than letting the program decide for you. But I'll undo that because I'm going to leave it like that for now just to make it easier to see what's happening. So then I can look at this wall thickness here. It is probably similar to the others, but let's just have a look. So that's a new one, 650. So again, there, edit type, duplicate. So you just need to go around and put in all the wall thicknesses that you need, and there's going to be quite a few there for those existing walls. It's common with these old buildings. I did the Shakespeare in Surrey Hills, and there would have been 50 different wall thicknesses there. It was just out of control. And it's not a very big building, but yeah. Yeah. So maybe just do a few more. Okay, so this recess section here, that's an interesting one. There are a few ways of doing that. I think for this, maybe you could just use more walls. So have walls coming back at an angle and then across, and see if you can join them together. The, I suppose, technically correct way to do it is to put a void in and cut away that angled section. And you can do that. So maybe later on, if we get time, we can have a look at that. But for now, I'll just try and keep it simple and do it with wall thicknesses. And so again here, notice that we've got these piers. So just to get you thinking about the main approach there, I want the main line of this main wall, so in other words the exterior face of this main wall, to come back to this main edge, or the primary edge of the wall here, which should be at the face of the windows. So again, clicking on the move tool, picking it up, and then moving my baseline. And this one, for some reason, is 100 mil, not 150. So that's just the way it is. And so again, just maybe to do the piers one more time, using the wall tool. Maybe I'll move this one 100, not 150, so I'm going to make yet another wall type. I don't think I have an existing 100. No, duplicate. So you might end up with quite a few wall types. And I'm going to draw from this corner here, going to the right. So do you think that's a problem? Well, there's a couple of problems. I didn't change the wall thickness for a start. I changed the name, but I didn't change the thickness in properties there, so that's obviously a problem. That's right, spot on. Yep. So here, if I draw along that reference plane, exactly, space, yep. That's the way to be thinking, because I want the exterior face to be on the reference plane, so I'm not going to change to finished face interior, but I want the wall to go to the other side of the reference plane, so you're exactly right, space to flip it instead of changing your location line. And that's good. So then the other piers on this wall I can do basically the same way. So for now, again, around that alcove, we'll just put a couple of piers in there. We'll work out that detail later, and that's a good general approach. Just get the overall setup done at first, and then all those little detailed fiddly things, again, you can worry about if you get time. And so here, this probably does go at an angle. It probably is drawn accurately, but we can rationalise it and say, well, or simplify it and say, well, it probably will look virtually the same if we draw it straight like that. And then it looks like we've got a section that just projects that all the way here. So in 3D now, got a pretty good overall impression of the building envelope. Really just one more pier on the corner here, and that would give probably enough to start setting up things like the parapet. So that should be a good exercise in managing your wall types, apart from anything else, and also setting, you know, alignment planes and things like that. Once you've got a basic handle on that, I would set up some floor plates. And so I've deleted the floor that I did before under the building, just so I can maybe spend a bit more time on floors and go through that a bit more slowly. So I'll actually go to my ground floor plan that doesn't have the image there getting in the way. And in fact, what I will do here is just turn joining on for this wall. For this one. Oh no, see? Because I turned joining on there, it's joining in a way I don't want it to. I don't want to show you the, I've got the wall joins tool here as well, which would fix it, but I don't want to show you that. So I'm going to use the other method I just showed you, join. Just tidy that up. Oops. There we go. So that should be, yeah, joined together pretty well. Oh, and look, I can just show you that quickly as well before I do the floor on these piers. So notice how, it's only because it's in fine. If I was in coarse, we wouldn't even see that line, but you know, it may come up. So again, if you see that and you don't want to see it, use join and choose those two, and they'll blend into a single wall. If you still see a line between the walls, it's because you've got different materials. So to make sure, if you want to use this method, that your materials are matching. And it's really common with interiors to need walls that change thickness or that overlap in different ways, but still need to read as one block in plan. So make sure you know about that join tool. It's really, really useful. Join geometry. Have you used that with things that you've modelled, like solids and things like that? Extrusions and... Oh, okay. Well, if you haven't, really useful with those. Extremely useful. Okay, so in this plan now, I can do my floor, and we can have a little bit of a look at structures as well. So using the floor tool, floor architectural, or clicking on the floor button, where's the edge of the floor going to go if it's a ground floor floor? Well, actually, in this case, it's not. There's not an obvious answer because it's an old building. It's not built the way most new buildings are. I'd say because there's a good chance that the brickwork is supported on its own footings. So the brick walls here could go down below the floor level, the pavement, to probably pretty pathetic footings, because that's the way things were built in the 19th century when this was probably built. And that's just the way it was possibly built. So so that's the way it would be in real life. You've got to be aware of that. And then the floor structure would be inside those walls. Has anyone had a look at the building at all? The inside? No. No, okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, look, it's tempting to model it the way it would be in real life, especially if you want to do something with adding in a basement. I know a few of you have been thinking about that. It's a narrow site. It would, in real life, be very difficult. In fact, I would say not even an option to excavate there. I don't know how you would excavate there, but I think if they let you do it in studio, then you can do it. But if you're going to excavate, what you need to think about is how you're going to get the walls to go down. At the moment, they don't go down below ground level, or don't go very far below ground level. And so how would you achieve that, or what are you going to do? What are you going to show there when you draw it in section? I'm going to not do that. So I'm going to basically make the floor the way it would be in a modern building. So So how would it be in a modern building if you had a concrete slab? Would the floor go under the walls, or the walls go around the floor?
Around the floor.
The floor goes, slab goes down first.
Slab goes down first.
New building. Oh, sorry, new
Yeah,
building.
yeah, new building.
Sorry, I'm
That's
still
it.
on
Yeah, that's right. This building would go like that. The walls would probably go down.
Yeah.
But we're just going to do it like a new building and say it's a slab on the ground with the walls sitting on top of the slab. And that's a good general way to show ground floor structures, especially for interiors. That's as far as you need to go. So I'm going to pick the outside edge of the wall. So with pick wall, I'm still in my floor tool. And this option here, extending towards a core, I'm going to turn that off, because later it'll matter. At first you won't notice the difference, but it'll make a difference later. And now I'm just going to pick the outer face of each wall. So you could go around and do that and it will work just fine. The trick I used earlier, just undoing that, was to use tab. So before I click anywhere, you can hover onto the edge of the wall, press tab, and it will chain. Now it's not working as well as it did last time because I've put in the piers and it's not picking up the boundary as well. I'll try it over here and it might do better, but no. Well, it's getting another chain. Now, if you find that it doesn't, sometimes when you press tab, it won't detect what's under your cursor because it thinks you're in a number field or something. And so there, notice it's not tabbing properly. So another tip I can give you there, just click into an empty space to make it realise you're in the drawing area, and then tab should work. So there it is. So tab's just your option key, and there we can get it to chain if I do it in 2 steps, just to save a bit of time. And now I'm going to use trim and join those lines together so that it forms a closed loop. Now, don't worry if it doesn't go under your piers. That is fine. And so there'll be another pier that sticks out here eventually. Again, that won't be a problem. So, tick to finish. And I'm going to have a look at that in 3D. And so you can see then that it's under my walls. The piers stick out, but we're going to put in a ground surface afterwards that'll cover that up. So don't worry about that. Okay, so level 1 walls. I'll go to, in fact I won't even go to fun, I'll leave it on course. So using the floor tool again here, where should the edge of the floor go? Here, with upper story walls. On the outside or the inside of the wall? Inside, exactly. So you're just thinking about it from a graphical point of view. In reality, the floor structure might go into the walls in real life. It probably does with a building like this. But again, we're just worrying about the way it looks, and it will be much cleaner in section if it sits on the inside face of your wall. So that's the way to draw it. So again, just with tab here and then trim, you can join those together. And here, when it says, do you want to cut out overlapping volumes of the highlighted geometry? What do you think you'd say? With this one, yes. It's a hard one to know, but yes. Pretty much every time just say yes there, because it does a lot of the work for you. Basically in section you'll see then that it gives you a nice clean join between the wall and the floor. So now looking at the the floor in section, notice how it's not solid. Now this is an existing floor, so I want it to show the same way as the walls do. So just like the walls, I can select the floor and then go to edit type, and here it's got coarse scale fill pattern. Oh yeah, I'll do that as well, yep. But for now I just want it to go black, so I'm going to change the fill pattern there to solid. So you've got the same option for floors as you do for walls. So that just gives you a nice clean section. And that floor then can be copied. So I'm just going to use the copy to clipboard button and then paste align to selected levels and choose level 2. So you can duplicate floors easily up through your whole building if they're the same shape. Okay, so then now in 3D starting to get a bit of an idea of the shell of the building. Notice that this one though isn't joined. It's a bit of a trick. When you make the floors it seems to detect them, but when you copy and paste them it doesn't. So when you're saying yes to that prompt that comes up, what you're doing is you're automatically joining using this join geometry tool, but you can always manually do that. So I'm going to go and do that, join, and choose the wall and the floor, and then you can see the edge there. So it's just a bit of a cleanup you can do. Again, this wall here can also be joined. Alright, so let's look at the section that had an AutoCAD. So we've got, well, okay, they've used the American way of naming things, but level 1, 2 and 3 should be, you know, ground 1, 2, and then we've got roof and parapet. So looking at my, let's go to the south elevation. So we've got roof there, and that really is going to be the top of my wall. So I want to have that as my top, and then I want to put another level in for the actual roof. And the reason I want to do it that way is so that I don't have to stretch my reference planes again. Right, so basically I'm just going to add in a new level underneath the roof. So I hope that makes sense. And I can't call this one roof yet because this one's called roof, so I need to go and call that now parapet. Right, because I've set the top of my wall to that level. I don't want to go and change all of that. And then I can call this one now roof. Notice I'm not worrying too much about those heights. It's easy to change those afterwards. And that's the beauty of Revit. You can just set up the levels that you need, the number of levels, and just worry about those actual height values when you have time. Doesn't really matter. So then notice that we've got the roof here, which is flush with that roof level. So the top of the roof basically should go to the roof level, even though it does probably slope down a little bit. We're not going to show that slope. So roofs work a little bit differently to floors, and I'll show you in the section just so you know what I mean. Okay, so you can see here the level, and the top of the floor sits exactly on that level. So I'll go now and make a roof on the roof level. And I'm not sure how much you've used the roof tool. Have you made pitch sloping roofs and things? Yeah. Yeah? Oh, good. Okay, good. So you've used, yeah. Okay, so most standard roofs you can make with roof by footprint. If you're pretty comfortable with that, make sure you know about roof by extrusion, which will give you most other roof shapes. So if you need to make it by extruding from the side, curved roofs and things like that, you can use that one. Roof by face you won't probably need to use until you start using another program like 3ds Max. So I'm just going to use roof by footprint, and I'm going to turn this option off. We don't need to have any slope here. I want it to be perfectly flat, and we'll just assume that there's a slight slope. And so with that option there turned off, I can then pick the inside face of, well, I'll just do all of the walls for now. And if it needs to change later, that's okay. I'm not worrying about my thickness. Oh no, sorry, I will. I'll change that to, it starts on 400, which is just way too thick. So I'm going to make that just generic 125. And tick to finish. In section now, you can see the main difference there is that, what's happening there? That's gone, oh sorry, of course. So it's a roof, that's right. So the top edge will sit, the bottom edge will sit on the level. That's how it should be because they're set up for pitching. So the pitching point is at the corner and it will pitch at that angle. So that's the way a roof should be normally. This one's a bit different because it's a flat roof. So to make it sit on that level, you can just change the base offset there in properties to minus 125, because we know the roof thickness. So make sure you know about that. You often do need to change the height of the roof from the level you're working on. And it's important that it's a roof. You can't just put a floor there, because, well, especially if you want, say, skylights, and I'm assuming you probably, well, there's a good chance you will, they'll only go into a roof object, they won't go into a floor. So then, just like a floor or a wall, you can go and set the coarse fill option. Okay, so you can see there the section's starting to look like a section. And then I can do AutoCAD. Okay, so then the other major element that sometimes people forget, but you definitely should be thinking about as soon as you can, is your ceiling. So, okay, so notice how here we've got a line just below the floor. So often people assume I can just make the bottom of my floor the ceiling, when in reality you can't do that, because you need to think about services. Unless you're using some of those new tricky structures, which you probably don't need to know about, but there are structures now where you can put things through the floor structure. But I've only seen them on TV shows and things. I haven't actually seen them in Australia yet, but you can do that. Oh, sorry, no, with steel structures you can do them here, but they've got timber structures now where you can go with services through the timber structural members, which is a pretty interesting thing. So that's going to change things a bit. But for now, always assume that you need a ceiling, because for lighting and things like that, you need to be able to go under your floor structure. Is anyone thinking about having exposed floor structures? So exposed floor joists, in other words? No? Floor joists? So it's an option, but if you're going to do that, then the services, the lighting and the plumbing and everything else, it needs to be exposed. So you have to model that in and not have a ceiling, which is another way of doing it. So you can do that if you want to, and exposed floor structures can be really nice, but you need to make that decision fairly early, because you have to allow for the modelling. Otherwise, put a ceiling in and you don't need to worry about it. So here we've got a ceiling, and you can see there the line of that ceiling. And so I'm going to go and just measure that. So you can see why having the AutoCAD file there is useful. So 80 mil. Okay, so back into Revit, and I'll just do a very basic ceiling. You can easily change the shape later. So have you done ceilings before? Might not have. It's one of those. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so the first thing you need to know when you're making a ceiling is that you generally do them in a ceiling plan. And you might not have looked at your ceiling plans very much, or when you open them they probably just look like a floor plan. So this is my level 1 floor plan, this is my level 1 ceiling plan. The difference is, this one looks down, this one looks up. Just to prove that to you, I'll put something on the floor here. So there's a desk. If I go to my level 1 ceiling plan, won't see it. So now I'm going to make a ceiling, and it's fairly easy at first because it will detect that area automatically. It's hard to see, but there's actually a red marker coming up and tracing that wall for me. But you won't always get that. So if you don't get that, it's called an automatic ceiling. If you don't get that, you can always go to sketch ceiling, and then it's just like making a floor or a roof. You draw the shape in plan, and you can use pick walls if you want to. And again, it's no harder than making either of those other things. And so there you can see I've gone around this area as well because it wasn't detecting that. Now there's a good chance I'll need to really modify this ceiling later, but I just want to give you a basic idea about ceilings. And so then And again, if you have rooms that divide this space up, you probably want to have the ceiling sit inside those rooms. But again, just to give you a basic idea so we can get some lighting and other things in here, now I'm going to set the height, and that's probably the thing people have the most issue with when you're making a ceiling. You can either set the height using a level, so you'll see some people will make a level for each ceiling that sits just below each floor level. That's one approach. But I think for a building this simple, you don't need that. It's much easier just to have a level for each floor. And that's generally a good approach with Revit. I think people go way too far with levels and just put too many in and create work for themselves and make the drawings just overly complex, when there are lots of options you have to work with a reduced number of levels. So again, a level just for each floor plate, and maybe one for the top of the wall, like the parapet. And then when you're making something like a ceiling, set the height relative to the floor level. So I've got two options. I can either set it from level 1 and work up. So I can say from that floor there, I can say it needs to be, let's look at it, 3730. That'll work. Or from the level above, it can be 385. Now, which one do you think I'm going to use? Well, just think about what might change here. The levels are going to change. Remember, I haven't put the accurate level heights in yet. So what I want to maintain is the height from the level above. I want to keep that ceiling close to the floor and have it so that if I move the level, the ceiling goes with it. So I'm going to go from the level above. In some cases, you might want to measure from the floor below because you want the ceiling height from the floor to be the same. When the level above moves, you don't want the ceiling to go with it in some cases. So just think about what makes sense in your design. But again here, I'm going to measure from floor above. That's what is going to make the most sense here. So 385. Alright, so from level 2, the height offset will be minus 385. The ceiling construction and thickness, I'm not going to set yet. I know it's going to be 57 mil by default. Here, you can see it's 57. We'll change that later. So it's going to go tick to finish. Just so again you're thinking about ceiling. So see there we've got the ceiling there below the floor. The floor needs to be thicker, but again that can be changed easily afterwards. So I'll go just edit type and set that coarse fill. So just to make it clear, you can see now if I move level 2, the ceiling goes with it. That's right, exactly, yep. So if I moved level 2, it wouldn't move, but yeah, you're right, if level 1 moved, it would go with it, yep, that's it. Okay, so they're all the main elements, and you'll see as you use the program more, there's a reason they're set up as these things called system families, and then later we'll look at the loadable families, which are the ones you can customise and do a bit more with. So maybe give some time to get all those things, and maybe just very last thing there, you can see there the roof does the same thing as the floor. So it's a nice thing when it asks you if it wants you to, or if you want the program to automatically join and cut that overlapping volume out. It really does save you a lot of time, but for some reason it just doesn't always ask you that, so you just have to get used to going around and joining things using the join tool manually to clean things up. And you'll see it happen everywhere. Here's another one. Just makes things look so much better once it's all tidy and joined together. And so once we've got the openings in there, then we should have a pretty good impression of the building. But before we do that, I might look at the site quickly. I'll do that up, in the video, and then also we're going to look at circulation elements, so stairs and access ways. But, I'll give some time to look at floors and ceilings and tidying up the walls as well.